This is the joint where we give shout outs to all the peeps, you know what I'm saying? You know we couldn't do this joint without spreading some love to the ones. Yo, check it. Yeah. If I just ruled the world, I would give y'all everything. Yes, we going out. We going out just like that. Yeah. We going out. We going out just like that. Yeah. This is kind of like a prayer going out to all the peeps close to me and dear to me, the ones that's been there.
Yeah, Donnie, I'm back, bro.
For my whole life.
You know what I wanted to do? I wanted to talk about price gouging. Because I realized,
I appreciate.
Let me turn the music down a little bit. Because I realized a lot of people don't know what price gouging is, but on top of that, they're going to rely on the U.S. media, right? And I'm not saying this to say that there's no good media outlets out there, but it's important to not totally rely on that. And again, I'm here as an American from Washington, D.C., and I'm here to give firsthand information to other American citizens that want to know what things are like on the ground in other European nations, right? And have something to compare their form of democracy to, right? So this is the thing, we were talking about this before, Donnie, right? And about what the big topic was going to be in this upcoming election. But there's a lot of important topics. But I myself, just listening to some of the complaints, I don't want to say complaints, but criticisms, is that a lot of people talked about inflation, right? And okay, I get that. Although I think a lot of people don't understand where the inflation is coming from, how it exists. And as I've been listening to some news media now, just covering the story, just brand new, actually, they're not being totally, how could I say this? Informative enough. They're not being informative enough. So let me give you an idea. For everybody that doesn't know what price gouging is, there's many examples of real price gouging. But I'm going to tell you the one that is really popular right now, because you've known about it, is the corona scamming. In a crisis, in a health crisis, the U.S. government must act. It doesn't have to act. For those of you citizens that doesn't want the U.S. government acting in a health crisis on your behalf, then turn away their help. But most people understand, since they pay taxes, they would like the U.S. government to act in a health crisis, in a health emergency, one that is bigger than you, and every other person on your block. For example, corona, or for examples, the Black Plague, or for example, things that wipe people out. A lot of Native Americans got wiped out just by diseases and bacteria passed to different people. You see what I mean? So bacteria in itself can kill everybody, if it's not maintained. Now, coronavirus hit the U.S. It hit the world, but it hit the U.S. How did certain parts of the world react? How did the Western world react? How did the U.S. react? Did the U.S. react the same way that other parts of the world reacted? No, not Western governments. Donald Trump did not react the way other Western governments did. Is inflation higher in Europe than in the U.S.? I doubt it. Is there inflation in Europe? Yes. Did inflation hit the world? Yes. But where is it higher? And where are the people hit hardest by the inflation in the Western world? Where is that? That's worth knowing. So let's look into that. Now, price gouging would be when the government sends out funding, emergency funding, to third party, first, second, and third party companies that can tend to the crises. Are you missing water? Do we need people knocking on doors? Do we need, that's manpower. What resources do you need? Do you need equipment? These kind of things. Those are things the government can do in an emergency. They do it every day across the world in wars. They can do it at home when there's a crisis. Now, when that happened, the US did so well. I mean, in some cases, they didn't do well in the beginning. Now, don't get me wrong. It wasn't Trump. Trump was sitting on that crisis like, maybe it's a crisis. Maybe it's not. We don't know. It's the China virus. But hey, I heard you could just shoot Clorox in your arm and you'll be all right, everybody. That was Trump's reaction. But when Biden came into office, Corona was still hurting. It was still there. It was still present. Leadership had to be taken. Biden took leadership. In case people forgot, yes, things got active on the ground. More emergency resources went out to healthcare professionals. More went out in many other ways. People were devastated. The economy was devastated. You see what I mean? People lost jobs. People couldn't go to work. People, it was a serious crisis, right? Corona. Well, here's where the price gouging comes in. The government gives out resources to first, second, and third parties to deal with the crises on the ground, to manage it, to distribute, to facilitate. Now, these companies, in order to get these funds, they sign off on a promissory. Yeah, I agree to do this, 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 and this. Now, the companies got benefits from the government to stay afloat, to stay alive, even many corporations, right? But what happened is that when the crises died away and things got back to normal, the prices never fell back to normal, to where they were before the crisis. That's price gouging. That means, in simple terms, a guy says, you know what? Do I want this crisis to end soon? Or do I want it to linger so I can keep charging high prices? That's price gouging. So what some people did was say, you know what? We're not going to bring our prices down too fast because the emergency is still going on. And by the way, I made hand over fist because of this crisis. So if I bring the pricing down now, maybe that I'm not going to get that extra $1 million, or extra 5 million that I could squeeze out of this cookie. And there have been corporations and bad actors that have tried to squeeze everything they could out of that crisis, every penny possible. That's price gouging, because the person that pays it is the consumer. Now, let's listen to some news talk about it. And I'm going to tell you where you need to keep your eyes open. Here we go. This is CNBC, and they're discussing the price gouging comment that Kamala Harris said. So let's listen to a little bit of it.
Topic in Vice President Harris's economic agenda has drawn criticism from economists on both sides of the aisle. Her proposal to crack down on alleged price gouging at grocery stores. Joining us now is Mike Pyle, who served as chief economic advisor to Vice President Harris. He's now informally advising her campaign. Have you been on board with the way some of these economic initiatives have been rolled out, Mike, or would you have done it differently?
So let's be clear on what this proposal is and was it what it isn't. I mean, what it isn't is price controls, pure and simple. This is not intervening in the basic price setting mechanisms of our market economy. What it is being sure that...
Right there. Now, what he said is very important, because what he's saying is largely fundamental to the U.S. economy, because the U.S. believes in free market. It doesn't have everything is not totally free. Nothing is free for free. Anything free cost. So there is nothing free. But the way that the economy has been designed is to be open as possible, so that corporations can choose how much they sell their goods for, and the consumer can decide who they buy their products from. But when you really don't have any real competition, And you already in the Reagan era then destroyed the competition, small farmers, local food growing, things like this, local farming. You destroyed these kind of things. Where's the competition driving the pricing down? In the US, is none because the corporations have succeeded. They've gotten the max out of what they can get. So they've already achieved it. So let's listen on.
There's a cop on the beat in emergency situations, making sure that there aren't bad actors out there taking advantage of the American consumer. This is the type of authority that we see in 40 different states,
Right.
red states and blue states alike. And it's really focused on making sure in those emergencies, there's a cop on the beat.
See, just because you sort of have to explain what it isn't after the rollout, I think it is illustrative of that it's not maybe.
Keep in mind, their commentary is not Kamala Harris's commentary. Their commentary is not Kamala Harris's decisive plan to deal with price gouging. She's only mentioned that price gouging is going on. You don't know what's in the plan yet, totally, do you? No, and they don't. So what they're commenting on is just only what they've heard.
Wasn't the greatest first initiative to make. And I think typically grocery chains have about a 1 or 2% margin. And when there is price gouging in a normal system, there are antitrust laws, there's anti-monopoly laws. It can't be done because competition doesn't allow you to stay higher than we're all.
Check this out. Yes, but they're talking about anti-monopoly laws, right? But the thing is that the little man has been already decimated in the U.S. economy when it comes to grocery stores. You literally, to have a grocery store in the U.S., this is a huge corporation, billions of dollars. You see what I mean? This is not a small event anymore in the U.S. The U.S. is way past local farming. It's way past even growing just vegetables in some cities. They even forbid it in some cities. They're bringing it back. But remember, for 10, 15, 20 years, they've been clearing that out. You see what I mean? And who's been taking over the grocery store chains? So let's ask ourselves. He talked about monopoly. Let's bring it back.
All your peers are gouging in a normal system. There are antitrust laws. There's anti-monopoly laws. It can't be done because competition doesn't allow you to.
You see, he's lying right there because competition doesn't allow you to. So let's find out one thing. Who owns how many major grocery store chains are there in the USA, and who owns them? Walmart, right? Walmart is one. See, these are corporations. Kroger, right? And look at what they own. You see? Hold on. Now, how many? Albertson Companies Incorporated. Okay. Ahold Delhaize. That's 4. Public Supermarkets. That's 5. HEB. That's 6. Whole Food Markets is owned by Amazon. Let me just pull this up for y'all so y'all can see this. So you can see I'm not making this up. They're saying that it's not possible to gouge the prices in the grocery stores. Oh, really? Look at this. Whole Foods, Target is number 8, Costco, right? Look at this. Lidl. Lidl is a German. Look, it's a German. We have Lidl here, right? But Wegmans Food Markets, chain owned by, right, details, okay. Winco's, okay. Meyer, number 15 is Hy-Vee, 280 stores in the Midwest. Industry overview, consolidate. Okay. Now look, consolidation. The grocery industry in the U.S. has seen significant consolidation over the years. with major corporations like Kroger, Albertsons, and Ahold, Delhaize owning multiple regional chains. What do you? How is it that price gouging is not possible when the U.S. has seen significant consolidation over the years with major corporations like Kroger, Albertson, and Ahold, Delhaize owning multiple regional chains? Some chains, like H-E-B, Wegmans, and Public, have a strong regional presence, but are not as widespread nationally. Okay, that's good. Disruptors. Chains like Aldi, Lidl, and Amazon via Whole Foods and online grocery services have introduced new competitive pressures. Now, look, you see that this almost doesn't even count. Because, look, let me tell you why. Let me tell you something. The first problem the United States government has, not just the government, but the United States consumer. Every one of you. It doesn't matter what your color is, what your background is. Every citizen. You know what the major problem in the United States of America is? Energy. How do you ship all these goods around? And what do they ship them around in? Gas vehicles. So you already, even before you get to the monopoly on the grocery store chains, you got to first deal with the monopoly on the oil and gas and how they control the pricing of goods being distributed through controlling the price of gas. Now, let me ask you something. If you wanted the prices to be more competitive, wouldn't you want different means of energy to power the vehicles that deliver the goods and services? Wouldn't you want that? Wouldn't diversity in the energy market bring down the energy prices? Yes. But who is against that? Trump is against it. So you're not only dealing with a 1980s, 1960s, 1970s, really, let's say 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s monopoly through the gas industry, which is underpinning. You already saw what the hell they tried to do. You already seen it. Look, the United States is in a war with OPEC. The United States is not an OPEC member. They're in a war with OPEC. They're producing more gas right now to bring down the price of gas. But guess who's against it? Trump. Guess who's against it? The people that's actually selling the gas don't want that. That's legislated. They don't want to bring it down. It's legislated. But the truth is that they're making more money than they've ever made in the history of the United States of America. But how fast did they bring that gas price down at the pump? How hard is it to bring the gas price down? Well, diversifying the energy is probably going to do it real fast. It's probably going to do it real fast. Not only that, but it's going to provide more jobs. Let me see here. Yo, Donnie, what's Donnie talking about? Let me see here. I could have told you that, VB. Yep. I work for one of those chains, brother. There it is, VB. We have to have cars. Really? We have to have cars. Yep. Trump doesn't want to let you have to have cars. And look, bro, this is what I'm saying, Donnie. When you're here, what do you think? What kind of bus do you think I'm riding on? When I want to go to take a bus, do you think the bus here is powered by gas or electricity? Do you think that's the thing about it. The vehicles are already being replaced here to keep the pricing of the goods and the distribution of the goods down. How much of the cost of the food is coming from the distribution cost. And I'm not talking about the let's say here the how can I say this? I'm not talking about just the, because I'm for truck drivers being paid a decent wage. I'm for these kind of things and also having great health care too. You know what I'm saying? Because that's not an easy job, right? But let me see here. Let me see 1 second. How much? What percentage? Okay, let's try this. What percentage of of food is what percentage of food cost is dictated by energy? Oh, by. I'm trying to figure out a good way to ask that question, but okay. The cost of fuel for delivery vehicles is a significant factor in overall cost of food, but it's just one of the many components that contribute to the final price customers pay. While the exact percentage can vary depending on the range of factors, studies and industry estimates provide insight. Breakdown. I mean, food costs are typically broken down into several components, including raw materials, that's the farm cost, right? You have energy costs there, you have fuel costs there, right? That's the first leg of the fuel and energy cost. Processing of manufacturing, there's costs there, costs related to turning raw materials into finished products, including labor, equipment, and energy. Transportation and distribution, the cost of transporting food from farms to processing facilities, then to distribution centers, and finally to retail stores. This includes fuel, vehicle maintenance, labor for labor for drivers, and logistic management. Fuel, vehicle maintenance, right? What car do you think? What kind of engine do you think takes more maintenance? An electric engine or a gasoline engine? What do you think that is? I'm pretty sure you're going to find out it's gasoline cars that take more maintenance than electric cars. I'm pretty sure you're going to find that out, right? But let's go on. Retail and market, the cost of incurring by groceries and retailers includes rent, utilities, right. Um, Cost of packaging materials, packaging food products. Yep. Transportation cost and fuel. Fuel costs. Fuel costs are a major component of transportation expenses. The price of gasoline or diesel fuel directly affects the cost of operating delivery trucks and other vehicles involved in the food supply chain. Why would people that make more money than they've ever made off of gasoline want to not all of a sudden make more money than they made off of anything in their life? Why would they all of a sudden assume that? So assume that position. That's the unlikely position to take in a capitalistic society. So they're not looking to spare somebody a penny, not the corporation. The government has passed legislation to make sure that the United States is making more money off of the oil, but is that translating into the local price of gas? Do Americans benefit from oil? Who makes the oil? Do the gasoline companies make the oil? No, they don't make the oil. Who makes the oil? The oil comes out of the ground. Yet someone can pump it out of the ground and sell it and make money off of it. But whose ground is that? Who owns that ground? You know, this is the part where the U.S. is going to have to start thinking. When they're making more money off of gas, oil and gas than they've ever made, in what way do they pass on those earnings to the average consumer? How do they do that? That's something they haven't quite figured out in the US yet. So that is a big factor in the high cost of groceries already in the US. That's a big part of the inflation. That's a significant part of the inflation in terms of the cost of groceries and the cost of goods. Now, the other factor is the other scamming, where a chain says, you know what? During the emergency, our prices had to go up, up, up. We had to lift prices. Now that the emergency is gone, do we want to lower the prices too fast? Or do we want to make as much money as we can before we let this thing sizzle down? And of course, in America, again, corporations are more likely to say, let's make as much money as we can while it lasts. There it is. So I commend Kamala Harris for bringing up the topic. Now, what you do with the topic is up to you. What you do with the topic is up to your own intelligence. It's up to your own research ability. It's up to how much you really want to know. Do you really want to know? Some of you really don't want to know. Some of you really, really don't. Be real about it. Some of you don't. Some of you will not climb the mountain and cross the sea to find the answer, will you? No, you won't. Some of you just want the news media and any old elected official telling you any goddamn thing. Some of you want that. Some of you accept it. And some of you, that's your entire goddamn life. Some of you, that's what it is. Some of you, I've been telling people, how does it even make sense? This is before Corona. Before Corona. I've been telling people, how does it make sense that a little can of tomato paste in Denmark costs less than in Washington, D.C.? And I said this 15 years ago. How's it possible? The United States buys more tomato paste than anybody else in the world. How's it possible? How do you charge more? How is it that when you buy more, you get something cheaper because you have more money to buy more? You distribute to more people than any other nation, so you have to buy more. How is your prices higher? You're supposed to be getting the shit cheaper than anybody else. That's where the gouging comes in. That's where the open capitalism comes in. And Americans got to start talking about it. You don't have to demonize it, but you have to enter the conversation. It's a real conversation to be had. Let me see. I'm not dissing. You want your business people to be successful, but don't your business people, after they're successful, turn around and take care of their neighborhood where they come from? And in this case, that would be their countrymen. Remember, the same people that own those corporations that's getting more money than they've ever gotten before, are they taking care of the people in their country? No. Are they passing that good? No, they're not treating their own people. That's the difference. In other nations in Europe, that's not what's happening. They're not trying to totally. In fact, you know what they do? In fact, in Europe, if you're an American corporation, they don't just let you walk in the door. They're not trying to let you just walk in the door and take over everything because you're big like that. But what they do is, if you're willing to submit to the national law and how you cooperate with how business gets done here, then they allow you in. You see what I mean? But the difference is that they don't want you ripping off the consumer. They don't want you controlling the market, monopolizing the market, and then ripping off the consumer. And that's how it's mostly done. So whether people think that there's price gouging or not, let me tell you, the United States of America, because of this one statement right here, and we just talking about the grocery stores, The cost of fuel for delivery vehicles is a significant factor in the overall cost of food, but it is just one of the many components that contribute to the final price customers pay. And then this sentence right here. The U.S. grocery retail market is dominated by a mix of major national and regional chains, many of which are owned by a handful of large corporations. That's not good for the consumer. Owned by a handful of large corporations is not competing prices. No, 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 no. That must be regulated to some extent. And if it's not regulated, it must be discussed every day until they volunteer to do something better for their own American people, their own people. Don't you want to treat your own people better than you treat others? Who the fuck is a patriot or a national hero when you don't want to take care of your own damn people when you're in a position to? Who do you take care of first? People right around you, right? Do American corporations operate that way in America? Who backs up the American corporations around the world? The American people. How? Through paying taxes. What do those taxes do? Those taxes go out to fund a military that protects those goddamn corporations around the world. You, American taxpayer, it's you who's actually allowing the corporations to be rich. And what are they doing for you, American taxpayer? What are they doing for you? Your uncle going to go out to war for one of these corporations and lose a leg, lose an arm, lose their sanity. What do you get for that? What do you get back for that? Price gouging, people playing games. In an emergency situation where people are crying, people are talking about it, they're not stepping up and volunteering and saying, hey, we know what we can do about this. We have found some discrepancies and we want to work on them. They could volunteer that. They don't have to wait. They could actually engage the government on the topic. That's how much money they have. Yes. You can't keep a billionaire business corporation out of the media when they want to be. All they got to do is pick the phone up and they on frontline TV. Let me read some of this. Oh, Donnie, let me see here. Yeah, America's big business, bro. We are big business and we should be proud of that. But not so proud to where we want them kicking us in the ass. God damn. I don't know. You have a different slant. Yeah, man. I mean, it's something for people to think about, at least. You know what I'm saying? Bro, I'm telling you, Donnie, some things you cannot fool people. Look, that's what I'm trying to say. This is essential. And the more people are over here listening, the more they're going to figure it out after a while. This is not about inflation. It's not about inflation. Inflation was existing before Corona. You see, inflation was, and this is how, because 15 years ago, I mean, inflation is always a topic, but here's the thing, even before Corona, how was it that a can of tomato paste could cost more in a little country cost less in a little country like Denmark with only 5 million people than it costs in a big country like the US with 350 million people? How can the tomato paste can cost less in Denmark when you're selling more of them in the US? That's price gouging. And the less informed the American citizen is about the global prices of goods. And I'm talking about even if there's 1% difference. The less informed you are about that 1% difference, that 1% translates over to your ability to make a decision. Yes, you're 1% less likely to make a good choice. 1% less. Let's say the price difference in a can of tomato paste is 2% higher. you're 2%. The less likely you are to know that, if you don't know that, you're less likely to find a solution. 2% less likely. You know, that's what it is. And if you can't prove it, see, I can prove it. You see, I can prove it. I'm not just saying it. Where is inflation hitting harder right now? Is it Europe or is it the United States in terms of the cost of goods? Where is it hitting harder? What government is managing inflation better? When did the inflation start? Did it just show up yesterday? Does diversifying energy, will that keep the price of energy down or will that drive the price of energy up? Is monopoly on energy driving the prices of energy down? I don't think so. It doesn't make sense. In the United States of America, there's 5 corporations. There's a handful that run the grocery store chains. A handful. One handful. That is not a good look for driving the prices down. How did they get there? In the 80s, in the 90s, they passed laws that stopped local farming. It stopped local people. That means the shit you're getting made is being transported all the way. Half of the stuff is being transported across the country. Do you know where half of the produce comes from? California. California is one of the biggest produce, vegetable fruit producing places in the United States. How much do you think it takes them to ship that shit all the way to the East Coast? How do they do it? They do it in gas vehicles. Right now, that's what they're doing it in. Gas vehicles. So the price of your goods are largely connected to the source of energy you provide yourself. But who's really paying attention? Who's really paying attention? Does the average American really know what's going on with gas in the US? Does the average American even know what the percentage of the price of the goods is connected to energy in the first place? Do they even know that? And what number would shock them? What number would force them to, rethink this thing, how they do this stuff? What would it be? 10%? Would it be 20%? Would it be 30%? You see, I mean, this is what we're talking about in terms of diversifying energy. What we're talking about, infrastructure, right? The U.S. could have been ahead of the train. The U.S. chose to be behind the train. And right now, the U.S., in terms of how it's formulated, these kind of core industries is behind the chain. It's just lucky that it's the United States of America. Because if it was not the United States of America with the biggest military on earth, it would be hit even harder the way they have organized this thing. It's not the only way to organize things. Their allies, who they engage in war with every day, are managing it a little bit differently and criticizing some of the way that the economy is managed in the U.S. Yes, housing market. Yes. You think the housing market is fair? When did the housing market become unfair in the U.S.? What was that? Biden? Kamala Harris? When was that? Trump, maybe? How long Americans been talking about that? Reagan? These things haven't been dealt with in a long time. Although people have been talking about it, who's done shit about it? And now you got somebody who's come along and said they pledged to do something about the cost of housing. They pledged to do something about the cost of goods. You hating on them? You got more hate for them than you got for anybody else. Yeah. Not. I'm not buying it. Look, Donald Trump. I'm an American citizen, born and raised in Washington D.C. Right, high school, educated there all my life. Love it. But you can't take my health care from me, my universal health care, because I live in a different country where my taxes pay for my universal health care. Donald Trump, the only Americans you can hurt are the ones in America. You can take their opportunity to have universal health care, but you can't fuck with mine. No, 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 because I've been ahead of the game for a minute. You see, traveling around as a young guy, sure, I was fucking around, doing what young guys do, having fun, but I was noticing shit. I was taking notes. And I started figuring out some shit that didn't make any sense. Like, how is it a little ass country can provide universal health care in the West, a major ally of the US, a significant ally, but the United States of America, the richest country on earth, couldn't? How's that possible? And I began to say, why is it like that? Why is it that it can be figured out for some people? And you know what I came down to? I came down to the reason why they don't want to fix the cost of goods in the United States, the reason why they don't want to provide health care, universal health care, the reason why they don't want to provide affordable housing is because of the color and race of the people. See, in Europe, there's less minorities. There's less colored people. Believe that. In Europe, there's less colored people. Could that be why they figured out that universal health care is okay? I'm not blaming Europeans because they provide it to everybody, regardless of your color. I get it. But could that be why America, people like Trump, just don't want to do it? Because they don't want somebody brown, black, or somebody that just looks a little different having health fucking care? So because of that, they're going to drag every other fucking American through the mud? Is that the best the U.S. got? That's what the math ain't mathing. The math is not mathing. White folk know how to do it in Europe. They don't know how to do it in America. Most powerful military on earth, biggest economy on earth, strongest economy on earth, can't figure out how to do it. Can't figure out how to keep bridges afloat. To me, it just sounds like self-sabotage. It's not happening because they are having a problem with wanting it to happen for everybody. And you hear that happen in the American dialogue all the time. Why should I have to pay for their health care? What the fuck? Because it's cheaper that way, dumbass. What the fuck? Communal healthcare is cheaper. That's all it comes down to. When you buy more of it, the costs go down. Why? Because of your banking system. When you have more money in the bank, don't you make more interest? Yes, you do. Yes. That's a core feature in the Western society, in the American society. That means when you buy more, the price goes down because you're getting more. That's what that means. The people sitting on that money are getting loads of money just off the interest alone. That's the thing. So the math is not mathing. Let's get some facts clear. Do you have housing insurance? Do you have universal health care? If you get sick right now, can you walk into any hospital in the country and get treated fully without one penny? Can you get that right now? Raise your hand if you can get that right now. See me, fellow Americans, see me, I can. Where do I live? I don't live in the US. I live in Europe. I get it. You see, I'm not worried about it. And that just me and my kids too. Ain't y'all happy about that? Somebody did it right. Somebody got it. Cheer for me. Yes, V. Yes, V. Bennett. Yes, V. Bennett. Be happy about it. Be happy about it. Congratulate it. Raise your hand if you can go to school tomorrow without having to pay a penny and be paid for it. See me, y'all? See me? I'm an American citizen. Where do I live? I don't live in the U.S. I live in a country that's less powerful than the U.S. Smaller economy. I live in a country the U.S. helped out. The Marshall Plan after World War II. Yes, me. I get that. Do you get that? Do your kids get that? How is it I'm getting this shit here and my kids are getting this shit here and you ain't getting that shit there? How is that? Is it Kamala Harris? Kamala Harris' fault? There's no way in hell you could blame that on Kamala Harris. You claim to not even know who the fuck she is. You're like, hey, I don't know her record. What's she been doing? What's she been doing as the president? What's she been doing the last 50 years? I heard she locked up some black people. So therefore, you can't blame Kamala Harris for that. What about the rest of the politicians then? That's been your situation for decades. For your entire fucking life. You gonna blame Kamala Harris for your fucking entire life? How much you gotta pay when somebody die? Where they gonna be buried? Who pays for that? Is it just the highest bidder? Yeah. You know what I'm gonna do? Today I'm gonna give you a special cost on your parents dying. I'm gonna charge you this price because the market says so. That's what's going on in the U.S. It's crazy. Yeah, that's right. Cost you an arm and a leg to bury somebody. Yo, it's crazy. It's crazy, yo. I don't know. I'm just saying, I'm going to be talking this shit all the way up through election night because there's a lot of people that don't like what I'm saying, but they know I'm right. You raise your hand if you got universal health care. Raise your hand if any accident can happen to you and you can walk into any hospital in the country and get help. I can. Where do I live? I don't live in the U.S. I'm an American citizen, though, so I get it. So clap for me. Clap for me. Do my kids get paid to go to school? Clap for me. I'm an American citizen. Hey, y'all. Yeah, USA. Raise your hand if you get that as an American citizen somewhere. Raise your hand. How come I get it and you don't? Do you have housing insurance? That means if you lose your job, will the government automatically, no matter where you live in the city, private housing, whatever you want to call it, will they come in and supplement part of your economy to make sure your entire family don't have to move just because you changed your job and now you might get paid a little less for a few years? Guess who else gets it? Everybody else in this goddamn country that needs it does. Where do I live? Not in the U.S. I don't live in New York. Don't live in D.C. Don't live in Chicago. Don't live in Los Angeles. Don't live in San Francisco. Don't live in Atlanta. But I'm an American citizen and I get it. Clap for me. Clap. Yay! Because we love when other American citizens are doing well. Because that's my spirit, right? Isn't that your spirit too? Or is your spirit like, boo! I don't want other Americans to have health care. Not on my watch. Not on my payment. I don't want that. Shit, fuck that. Even if it's cheaper, if we all paying together as a state, even if it's cheaper, I don't want it. Because I don't want some nigga getting a penny from me. Or I don't want some cracker getting a penny from me. Or I don't want some chink getting a penny from me. Or I don't want some goot or some Spanish person getting a penny from me. That's how fuckers are thinking in the US right now. That's why they pay so much. Divide and conquer. You motherfuckers are so divided by race, you are conquered by it. Yes, the $1 billion man that don't give a fuck about race at all, exploiting it to the T, exploiting it like nothing's ever been exploited before in the world, exploiting it. Any exploiting going on right now in the United States is likely to be the biggest that's ever existed. I mean, it's just facts, yo. It's facts. And Americans have to wake up. So I'm saying, American brothers and sisters, my average everyday Joe and Joanna, don't fall for the okie doke. You work harder than most people in Western countries. You get less for your tax dollar than most people, but the far majority of people in Western countries. I'm telling you that as an American that lives outside of the US in another Western country. I'm telling you that. And what you going to do about it? Nothing. You're going to shut the fuck up because you don't have facts to dispute it. I do. You see what I'm saying? Not only that, I got a lot of them because I've been planning this. I've been working on this. I've been keeping some information and research on this over the years. Yes. You see? So I hope people think about it. Although I'm pretty sure folks that's voting for Trump haven't because they don't have facts. They can't say nothing about what I said because they don't know nothing about what I said. They don't have any knowledge about what I'm saying. So they can't say anything about it. You could be hard-headed though, but guess what? I hope you have health insurance. I hope your kids get to school. I hope you have some housing insurance. I hope you're not running around trying to duck your head from somebody who don't have it about to rob your ass. You know what I'm saying? And on top of it, shit, I have these things and I pay less for it. How the hell is that possible? I mean, in my world, smart is what smart does. All of these things that plague the US, these things aren't new things. These are things, if you've been listening, these are things people have been discussing for decades. Yes, they've been discussing them for decades. When they started stopping people from growing food local, they stopped encouraging people to do local food distribution. Whose idea was that? Local food gets transported shorter distances, therefore can be sold at a cheaper price. Also, why is it that you have to be a billionaire to get in on the food industry? Just growing food, just a farm. Whose idea was that? Whose idea in a nation with 350 million people is it to have 5 food chains control the whole market? Whose idea was that? When did that happen? It didn't happen under Biden's watch. No, that's been the norm. That's been the norm. How many major food chains are there in the country I live in? How many are there? It's only 5 million people here, 6 million tops. How many do you think we have here compared to the ones that's running the U.S. market? Do you know those numbers? Are you interested in those numbers? Do those numbers matter to you? If you're a Trump supporter, probably not. Because you don't hear Trump supporters talking about it at all. Zero. Trump supporters are interested in aliens invading. pretty much, or Hillary Clinton drinking baby blood on Epstein Island. Although we know what was more likely to go on Epstein Island is men raping girls, because that's been the history of the earth. The history of the earth haven't been women sneaking off to some island to drink baby blood. No, that's probably not true. That's probably not the facts. You see what I'm saying? The facts that was looking you right in the head, somebody decided to divert from that, you know? But in any case, price gouging, that's what it is. If you want to know why your grocery stores, why you're paying more for food than people are in Europe, got to do some work. Got to ask around. Got to not settle for the easy answers. Get some information, get some data, and discuss it. Bring it up on YouTube. Have a conversation. You see what I mean? Respond with some information, some data. You could also do that. That's our option. That's an option. You know, you don't have to not talk about that side of it, that part of it. No, you're free. You have the freedom to discuss any of the facts you have. Yeah. Let me drop the link. Let me see here. I'm about to be gone though, but I'm gonna drop the link. I just want to check one other thing out while I'm here. Boom. Let's see here. 2 seconds, y'all. Look at this shit. Look at this. Look, y'all. You are a Trump supporter does not want to know what this is. They don't want to know the answers. Trump supporters don't want the answer to this. So if you're a Trump supporter, close your ears right now. Close your ears. Why did inflation hit the United States number 3rd in the world, in the Western world? Why did it? Why? Look at this. It's less inflation. This is just. Let's see here. I mean, it's hitting a lot of countries. Look, where's my country? Is it? Here we go. The EU zone. Look at this. 10%. Look at that. Exacerbated by the Ukraine war. Right. That's not even from COVID. That's from the invasion of Ukraine. Right. Now look at this. Hold on 2 seconds. All right. Check this out. Check this out, y'all. Americans are feeling it because there's more going on to their inflation than what's going on in the US. In Europe. You're feeling it more because there's another element to it. And it's the price gouging. When you combine price gouging, that is corporations that want to make money off of hard times, that want to scam people basically when they're being subsidized and helped by the government, they don't pass on the savings. Companies that do that price gouge. And what happens is that they keep the prices up as if there's still a crisis when they could choose to bring them down and still be making loads of money hand over fist. But they choose not to because they don't want to share the wealth. Europeans are hit a little different by that because although there's inflation, let me ask you, how much is a can of tomato paste? How much has the inflation hit people at the grocery store? It's hit us. We felt it. We felt the price of inflation, right? How do the foods and services get delivered? Well, multiple means. Some electrical vehicles, some gas vehicles. The country I'm living in has a lot of electric vehicles, electric buses, electric vans. Yes. The energy costs are a little more balanced in a sense. Um, Even though they're still doing data on it, and it costs a lot to bring these diverse aspects of energy into the picture, but they're doing it. But the other thing about it is that what is considered a good amount of money to make before you pass on some savings to your consumer, to your customer in the United States versus in Europe? At what point does a corporation in Europe say, you know what, it's customary here to do things this way? At what point does corporations in the US say, yeah, you know what, but this custom that we have may not be the best custom to hold on to? Maybe we need to change it a little bit so that the citizen doesn't feel the full impact of the inflation. That's what's going on in the US. It's not just the inflation, it's the impact. It's what it feels like because other things are not kicking in, other factors, you don't have it. So while the inflation is kicking in over here on the food, right? And it did just like everybody else. I'm not worried about my health care. My health care costs the same. Does your health care cost the same? While the inflation on the food kicked in, I'm not worried about my housing insurance. While the inflation on the food kicked in, I'm not worried about where I'm going to go to school, how much I'm going to pay for it. Doesn't cost me nothing. I get paid for it. You see what I mean? Do the corporations try their best to keep the costs down? Is that what's going on? Probably, because, let's be honest, you're going to lose out on a lot of business. How much food goes to waste in the US? How much of the food doesn't get sold? How much preservatives are even in the goddamn food in the first place? How long does a piece of food sit on a grocery shelf before it's sold? How much of it is really the food that you say you're buying versus a preservative? Do you know that? Might want to start looking into it. I mean, the devil is in the detail, So on that note, I'm about to be out. Like I said to everybody before, if you want to vote for Trump, go ahead and vote for Trump. I don't give a fuck. You vote for Trump. I have my health insurance. You know what I'm saying? I have universal health insurance. Universal. That means I don't pay $1. Okay? If I get run over by a truck, I don't pay $1. If I get chopped up into pieces, I don't pay $1. Cancer treatment, don't pay $1. I don't live in the US, so Trump can't take mine, although I'm an American citizen. He can't fuck with mine. He can fuck with yours, and he will fuck with yours. And if you're dumb enough to let Trump fuck with yours, I say let him. What the fuck? I'm not going to cry about you if you want. I'm not going to cry about it because it's your choice. Just like the choice 20 years ago that Americans made. It's not the first time choices been made. Choices get made every 4 years. Do some bad choices get made? What about Reagan? That bad choice got made, but people voted for Reagan. You see? People voted for Bush. COVID came and Trump told you, hey, man, why don't you inject some Clorox into your arm? That was his view of it, Did that prolong solving the problem of Corona? How many days? How many dollars? You do the math. It's not I'm only here for the ones that want to hear the message. I'm not here to convince any person that is fixated on Trump with no information. You can just say Trump, 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 but that's all it is talk. There's nothing else behind it. It's just hot air. So let me see here. Trump. Let me see here. Let's bring up some wise words for the Trump supporters. about inflation.
You see these people in Pakistan right now, over 84% of Pakistan lacks clean
Inflation that came in a very hard time, corona epidemic, which was a global health crisis. And this was Trump's words about it.
Just very powerful light. And I think you said that hasn't been checked, but you're going to test it. And then I said, supposing you brought the light inside the body, which you can do either through the skin or in some other way. And I think you said you're going to test that too. Sounds interesting. Right. And then I see the disinfectant where it knocks it out in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside or almost a cleaning?
Anybody from the U.S. Health Administration advised that? Where did that information come from? Where did that information come from about injecting bleach? Whose idea was that in the U.S. Health Administration? Who did that? Was that Fauci? Where did Trump get that information from? I heard light will solve COVID. I heard injecting bleach will solve COVID. It doesn't sound like that problem's getting fixed too fast. It sounds like it's being prolonged. How many days? How many dollars? It's worth the thought.
As you see, it gets on the lungs and it does a tremendous number of the lungs. So it'd be interesting to check that. So that you're going to have to use medical doctors with. But it sounds interesting to me.
Who the hell are you talking to? Let me ask. Where did Trump get advised that injecting bleach, let me see here, into your body would help corona? Let me see here. Yeah, this is ridiculous. Let me see here. What's up, Rue? 2 seconds. Let me just play this real quick, and then you can speak. Let me see here. Here we go.
The idea that injecting bleach or disinfectant could help treat COVID-19 is widely believed to have originated from a misinterpretation of scientific discussions rather than from formal advice. Here's what happened. The April 23rd, 2020 press briefing incident. During a White House coronavirus task force briefing on April 23rd, 2020, President Donald Trump made remarks that sparked controversy. The comments came after a presentation by William Bryan, an official from the Department of Homeland Security, who discussed the effects of sunlight, heat, and disinfectants on the coronavirus on surfaces. Bryan mentioned that disinfectants like bleach could kill the virus on surfaces. Trump's remarks. After Bryan's presentation, Trump speculated aloud about the possibility of using disinfectants inside the human body to combat the virus, saying, "I see the disinfectant, where it knocks it out in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside or almost a cleaning? Because you see, it gets in the lungs and it does a tremendous number on the lungs. So it would be interesting to check that." These comments led to widespread confusion and alarm, as medical experts quickly responded to clarify that disinfectants like bleach are toxic when ingested or injected and can cause serious harm or death. Medical and public response. Medical experts, doctors and health organizations, including the CDC and the World Health Organization, immediately warned against ingesting or injecting disinfectants, stressing that doing so is dangerous and potentially lethal. Clarification. The next day, Trump claimed his comments were made sarcastically to reporters, though the context of the briefing suggested otherwise. Source of the idea. Trump's comments appear to have been a spontaneous reaction to the information presented about disinfectants' effectiveness in killing the virus on surfaces. There is no evidence that he received formal advice from any medical or scientific expert suggesting that injecting disinfectants would be an appropriate or safe treatment for COVID-19. Summary. Trump's comments about injecting disinfectants like bleach were not based on any scientific advice, but rather seemed to stem from a misunderstanding or misinterpretation of how disinfectants work on surfaces, coupled with speculative thinking during a public briefing. The incident led to significant public and media backlash, with health officials strongly advising against such dangerous practices.
Rue, are you there?
I'm right here.
Yeah, can you go on camera?
No.
Okay, why is that though? Are you scared of people knowing who you are or seeing who you are or speculating or something like that?
I have no clothes on.
Well, go take some clothes on and come back.
For what? Why do I have to get on cam to just give my statement? That doesn't make... If you want me to drop down, I can. But...
Well, no, it's not that. It's just that you've been up here several times and you never showed your face. So don't make it seem like I'm pressing you to do it, because I've been way open with you. You've been up here loads of times. But at some point, you do have to notice that folks know who I am.
Okay.
So the shit I'm saying, I walk with every day.
Okay.
I'm not hiding who I am saying this because I'm serious about it. Every single word. So I think it goes to the seriousness is what I'm saying. And also the lasting, how long your message goes. You know, folks tend to want to believe folks they can see.
I understand.
That's all. But go ahead. You can't show your face, so go ahead.
So Trump making the statement about the bleach. If you noticed, and if you go and watch the whole entire press conference, he kept turning to this blonde-haired woman. What happened was he was putting...
blonde-haired woman?
It was a blonde. I cannot think of her name or even her title, but she worked in the medical at that time when Corona hit.
Okay, but you need to be able to mention her name so that people can verify the information.
I can't think of her name, but just so I can drop down. He was putting her on blast because she was talking some craziness behind the scenes. And what he did was he turned directly to...
How do you prove that?
I have proof. Please let me finish.
Okay.
She was saying some stuff to him behind the scenes that he knew and she knew made no sense.
Were you there?
When
were you there?
This is what
were
happened.
You there?
You can go.
Are you a first-hand witness?
Let me drop down. This is some low IQ shit.
Are you a first-hand witness to it?
Sir, what's wrong with just listening? I'm putting you
on. No, because I don't want to hear a story. I want you to... It's
not a story. It's a fact, but Trump 2024, fuck it.
It's a fact, but you don't know her name. It's a fact, but you don't know her title.
She has blonde hair. You can go look it up.
No, you can look it up. You're the one telling the universe.
I know about it. I'm trying to put you on, but you know what? You're on this liberal psychotic shit. You don't even live in the country, and you don't even
know. You don't know what you're talking about because you're not telling people the details. I am. I'm not telling people just some blonde lady. If you look over, no. I'm going, before I go out and even say a damn thing, I'm going to find out who the person was. I'm going to find out who the title was if I take the claim serious myself. You see, that's the thing about some of you Trump supporters. You don't verify shit yourself. You just come with stories. Well, you know, you talk like you know, you wasn't even there. So you weren't there. You talking like you know. You don't know the name of the person with the blonde hair, and you don't know her title. Listen, it's Trump's statement. Stop defending Trump's statement. Let him defend it himself. He was there. You weren't. So, I mean, if you don't got a news article to point to, something where the information can be verified, to me, it's just another Trump lie. It's just people making shit up because that's what Trump supporters do every day of the week. Make shit up. They don't prove. You see? So I'm not going to just go out there and tell people shit. Listen, do you want... You can verify. Google right now. You don't have to Google blonde-haired lady gets medical insurance in Denmark. Just Google medical insurance in Denmark. Is it universal health care? You find out. It's a term for it. You see what I'm saying? Housing insurance in Denmark. How does it work? There's terms for it. I'm not going to tell you, well, a blonde lady told me that they have it over there, and I don't know where her title was, but they have it. You know, that's what they said. What the fuck you think I am? That's not me. I'm telling you my name, V. Bennett. I'm telling you where I live, Copenhagen. I'm telling you what country I live in, Denmark. I'm telling you what country I come from, Washington, D.C. I'm telling you everything about myself to qualify the statements before I even come with the statements in more detail. Who you think you talking to? Go talk to a little child like that, lady. Like, I don't know who you think you're talking to. Don't take kindness for weakness. This is really about people's freedoms and people's lives and survival. If it's about survival, learn to come with the facts. Stop coming with the bullshit. Okay? That doesn't work in school. The teacher is going to do what? When you come with some story like that, my dog ate my homework, so I don't know what the hell happened to it. What the hell the teacher going to say?
That's when I smack the shit out you. I smack the shit out. That's when.
Exactly. Ain't no decent teacher going to put up with that. Your dog ate your homework. Okay, the lady with the blonde hair stole it. Okay, I got it. You don't know her title, but somebody came up behind me and took my homework out of my pocket. What the fuck? It was the lady with the blonde hair. And I'm damn sure not going to repeat that story to somebody. Yeah, what I heard was it was the lady with the blonde hair that ate Rue. She took Rue's homework. What the fuck? I'm not going to be doing that. Yo, what the hell? What the heck? Yo. Did Kamala Harris come with better information than that? Yes. Did Kamala Harris just look to the right and say, well, a blonde lady, I don't know who she was. It was not from the health department. No, it wasn't. It was Trump speculating about shit he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. And he did it from a podium where the entire world heard him. And people went out there and was like, Trump is my leader. Let me go inject Clorox. That's what fucking happened. Yeah, what the hell? How many people injected Clorox into them after Trump's statement? Man, this man had people vouching for his ass about that statement. What are you talking about? All over the world, it was people like, yeah, man, you know what? I heard they do that all the time over here in these places. Injecting Clorox in your arm. It was people up on the internet, people, Trump supporters on the internet vouching for that shit. That is crazy. Trump supporters was out here. No, this is a conspiracy, man. All you got to do is inject Clorox into you. Ain't no virus, y'all. Ain't no virus. Don't worry about that. All you got to do is close your ears and close your eyes and the virus won't hurt you. It's just going to go away by itself, y'all. Just go away. Turn out who was affected by it most. Who was affected by it most? Who was affected by it most? Were Black Americans affected largely? Yeah. How did that hit Black America? So when you're talking to Black America, you at least want to get the shit right, because Black America had a real hard time in America. You might want to get the advice right for once. You might want to take it serious when you get on the podium. If you respect them at all, respect their history, respect their struggle, respect the fact that they have been the only people to slave for centuries in the country. When you're talking to them, come with some goddamn facts. Yo, this shit is crazy. Like, yeah, that was what it was. Trump supporters was talking about, let me inject some fucking, you don't need that. Don't wear a mask. Let's listen to this shit. It's crazy, man. This is why you don't talk shit over the podium like Trump.
There is no comprehensive data specifically tracking how many people injected Clorox or similar disinfectants following Trump's statements. However, there were reports of an increase in calls to poison control centers after his comments, suggesting that some people may have attempted to use disinfectants improperly. Key points. 1. Poison control center calls. After Trump's comments, there was a noticeable uptick in calls to poison control centers across the United States related to exposure to household cleaners and disinfectants. For example, the New York City Poison Control Center reported a spike in calls about exposure to disinfectants following the press briefing. Nationally, the American Association of Poison Control Centers, AAPCC, also reported an increase in calls related to disinfectant exposure. 2. Nature of the incidents. Most of the reported incidents involved people ingesting or inhaling disinfectants or using them in ways that were not intended, such as gargling with diluted bleach or applying it to their skin. There is no verified data indicating how many, if any, people actually injected disinfectants like Clorox directly into their bodies. 3. Health warnings. Health officials and poison control centers quickly issued warnings against ingesting or injecting disinfectants, emphasizing the dangers of such actions. These warnings were widely disseminated in the media to prevent any harmful behavior stemming from the misunderstanding. Conclusion. While there was an increase in poison control calls related to disinfectants after Trump's comments, it is unclear how many people, if any, actually injected disinfectants like Clorox. The situation highlights the potential dangers of misinformation or misunderstandings during a public health crisis.
Exactly. Misinformation, disinformation, which is why we need to know who's talking. Yes, we need to know who you are when you talk, especially when you have strong opinions. Okay? Especially when you spread disinformation. You know, spreading disinformation, it's not everybody that wants to show their face when they do it. You know, some people do it though. But here's the thing. How many days, how many dollars did it take? Yo, it's good. How many days, how many dollars, and how many lives was lost just over that one silly comment that a person that took things serious would know that they could do what at that very important time if they don't have the right things to say? They could just...
You could shut the fuck up.
Peace, y'all. I'm out. I'm going to catch up with y'all later on today.